this presentation, I want to focus on the consequences of technological development, such as digitization, global challenges, and the other disruptors as the most significant sources of continual dislocation, as well as sometimes continual sources of increases in well-being. I want to focus on ideas for reacting to this new world so as to enhance organizational and managerial success. In recent years, the management and business press, magazines and newspapers, have been full of articles about the types of challenges and disruptors we see today, as well as numerous articles about how successful organizations are surviving. Ever since Fast Company magazine was first published a number of years ago, I have thought it provided one of the best windows in today's businesses, with particular focus on new and innovative companies, but combined with innovative ideas from older companies. The issue of Fast Company of March 2017 is particularly about innovation, with a focus on the world's 50 most innovative companies, with the introductory article about how to achieve impact in a time of constant change. This illustrates how important the themes of this presentation are viewed by the business world. I can't repeat the whole magazine here, although it would be cool if I could, but I will list the 10 most innovative companies for 2017. Amazon, Google, Uber, Apple, Snap, Facebook, Netflix, Twilio, Chobani, and Spotify. If you don't recognize all of these or know what makes them special, don't feel bad, I don't either. Then maybe it identifies an area for both of us to further our learning. Social media, cloud computing, data science, smartphones, the Internet of Things are all new digital technology concepts driving massive transformation in the global economy. And the convergence of these technologies is enabling innovative business models which are disrupting the status quo for many, if not most, organizations. Digital disruption is forcing many companies and even entire industries to rethink their business models. Digital disruption is the main reason why just over half of the companies on the annual Fortune 500 list have disappeared since 2000. According to the Global Center for Digital Business Transformation, digital disruption has the power to reshape markets faster than any other force in history. A survey conducted by the Center in 2016 found that many industries lack the ability to adapt, and this means that 4 of 10 existing businesses across industries will be displaced within the next 5 years. Digital disruption has the potential to impact every industry, every company, and every business leader. And while there's agreement that transformation is underway, many companies remain unprepared. In a recent study by PricewaterhouseCoopers, 77% of business leaders responding agreed that technology will transform stakeholder expectations in the next 5 years. And in a related study by Deloitte, only 14% of leaders said their companies were ready to redesign their organizations in response to digital disruption. As organizations adjust and redesign in response to this digital disruption, they will need to think differently about how they do business and the nature of the talent they will need to accomplish it. Rapidly changing business models will require new skill sets for leaders and others throughout the organization. Leaders will need agility to handle their changing markets and industries that digital disruption makes inevitable. They will need resilience, the ability to handle volatility and complexity. They must become more comfortable with ambiguity and uncertainty. And they must learn to adapt and move fluidly in a rapidly changing business environment. Many global consultancies now focus on digitization as the most significant of the trends impacting organizations. They indicate that globalization, once measured largely by trade in goods and cross-border finance, is now converging with digitization. Enormous streams of data and information are transmitted every minute, circulating ideas and innovations around the world via email, social media, e-commerce, video, and more. As these sprawling digital networks connect everyone, everything, everywhere, companies must rethink what it means to be global. To measure the impact of digital globalization, McKinsey, one of the world's largest management consulting companies, built a model based on the inflows and outflows of goods, services, finance, people, and data for 97 countries around the world. They found that over the 2000 to 2010 decade, such flows have increased current global GDP by roughly 10%, over what it would have been in a world without them. So, even though this impact is huge, about $7.8 trillion in 2014 alone, it is not yet as though digitization explains all of globalization. The cross-border data flows were relatively negligible just 15 years ago. But now everyone needs to pay attention to the rapid pace of development and its impact on every place and everything. Beyond creating value in their own right, digital flows are transforming more traditional flows as well. Some 50% of the world's traded services are already digitized, and that share is growing. About 12% of the global trade in goods is also conducted via international e-commerce, and digitization is facilitating flows of people too, as Airbnb, TripAdvisor, Travelocity, and many other websites provide information that enables travel. Behind the scenes, the largest corporations have been building platforms to manage suppliers, connect to customers, and enable internal communication and data sharing. While many platforms are internal, the biggest and best known are more open, spanning e-commerce marketplaces, social networks, and digital media platforms that connect hundreds of millions of global users. These open platforms give businesses built-in customer bases and ways to interact with customers directly. They also create markets with global scale and transparency. With a few clicks, customers can get details on products, services, prices, and alternative suppliers from anywhere in the world. Also growing rapidly is trade in virtual goods, such as e-books, apps, online games, and music downloads, as well as streaming services, software, and cloud computing services. In addition, many companies are adding digital wrappers to raise the value of their offerings. Logistic firms, for example, use sensors, data, and software to track physical shipments. As a supervisor or manager, you need, as always, make sure you let your employees know why you want them to do what you are asking them to do. And this is why it is necessary to understand clearly the nature of the disruptions you are experiencing and what you want to do about them and why. It is necessary to tell your organization and its people more than to just go do X. If you want motivation, commitment, strong engagement from your employees, they need to know your motivation. They need to know why you are doing what you are doing. It is not adequate merely to assume that they understand the world and its disruptions with the same clarity that you have. Identifying and managing dangers and opportunities must be a job for those at the very top of a business. This isn't a tick box compliance exercise says Dr. Roger Barker, Director of Corporate Governance, Institute of Directors for the World Economic Forum. The right solutions require a holistic approach that maps all risks and their interdependencies. In the near term, many companies still need to recalibrate the weighting they use for political and supply chain risk management. They also need better insight of political risk management mechanisms, such as risk assessments for countries or regions, scenario planning, and government and community relations programs. Business models built for 20th century globalizations may not hold up as digitization gains ground. As leaders take stock of the opportunities and threats, the following 5 questions can help leaders focus their discussion. First, do we have a clear view of the competitive landscape? Second, do we have the right assets and capabilities, people and technology, to compete well in our competitive landscape? Third, can we simplify our product strategy? Fourth, should we retool our organization and supply chain? And fifth, what are the new risks? So, what does going digital really mean? Everyone wants to go digital, or at least they think they do. But the first step is to truly understand what it means. For some, it's about technology. For others, digital is a way to engage with customers. And for others still, it represents an entirely new way of doing business. What's critical is that management is clear about where the business needs and wants to go. McKinsey says that digital should be seen as less of a thing and more a way of doing things. Business publications have been focusing increasingly on lessons of innovation. Obviously, this concept provides both a threat and a challenge to a business's success, as well as the route to that success. It would take more than this presentation to cover even part of the ideas and examples presented on the topic of innovation. Large management consulting companies like McKinsey have given attention to the need to develop agility in the face of continual challenge from competitive disruption. But why do established companies struggle to become more agile? McKinsey suggests that no small part of the difficulty comes from a false perceived trade-off. The assumption by top managers that they must choose between much needed speed and flexibility on the one hand, and the stability and scale inherent in fixed organizational structures and processes on the other. Startups, for example, are notoriously well known for acting quickly. But once they grow beyond a certain point, they struggle to maintain that early momentum. Equally, large and established companies often become bureaucratic because the rules, policies, and management layers developed to capture economies of scale ultimately hamper their ability to move fast. In our experience, says McKinsey, truly agile organizations paradoxically learn to be both stable, resilient, reliable, and efficient, and dynamic, fast, nimble, and adaptive. To master this paradox, companies must design structures, governance arrangements, and processes with a relatively unchanging set of core elements. At the same time, they must also create looser, more dynamic elements that can be adapted quickly to new challenges and opportunities. Agility, resilience, connectivity, cross-functional, customer focus, partnered, long-term. It is certainly a crazy world. But developing the habits to continually learn from it and to show agility and resilience to react to it will go a long way toward being successful. I wish you all the best, and thank you.